And, or maybe it's an old one that has been whitewashed, I don't know. The horse has these shoulder blades, you see, like ours. Well, you notice the shoulder blade has a triangle here beneath what they call the spine. And on us, these triangles are much bigger for certain reasons than the top one. So the horse's shoulder blade, which is on the side of his body, he's got a couple of triangles, and he has a spine. He has a spine here. But this triangle is about the same size as that. You see, underneath the triangle, there is a cavity, or here, there's a cavity for the arm bone, and you have a simple ball and socket joint. That's why there's a simple ball there, you see. Function makes form. And the horse indeed has such a cavity right underneath the spine there. I forgot to say something rather important. On the horse's rib cage, he has coming out in front a great keel, you know, like this. That's for the attachment of these great pectoral muscles, you know. He has to do a lot of galloping. And haven't you ever seen the keel on a bird when you carve the chicken? See, the bird has to do a lot of flying and needs enormous muscles here. Well, then we have all these bones here. Though they're functionally different, first we have this bone, which we call the humerus, which come very heavy it is on the horse. And then we have these two bones here, radius and ulna. Radius falls like that. And the ulna, strangely enough, is just stuck to the radius, the little bone on the top. Now, there's an awful lot of theory there. You know, we have this peculiar ability to do this and that, see? That's called promation and supination. In fact, if we utilize this joint here, we can get 360 degrees, you see? And so we could do this sort of thing. Well, the other animals can't, you know, and that puts them at a great disadvantage. You know, they can't pull corks out of a bottle, play these, they can't do those things. We can because of this supination and pronation. Now, you can see how it takes place. There's this bone here, it's just a hinge bone at the elbow. But there's this other bone here, the radius, which is a rotating bone, and it carries the hand over the ulna. And we get supination and pronation, which we'll take up in great detail sometime. But the horse's bones are locked. He can't rotate his lower arm at all. That being the case, there's no real necessity for two bones, so the ulna here has practically faded away and is just a little bone here. From here on now, of course, we're on the horse's hand, you see. And we have these little bones in the hand we call the carpal bones. 8 of them, I imagine, which is what we have. And then we get these bones here, the metacarpals. Meta means beyond in Greek. And then the horse, as you probably know, runs around on one finger, his middle finger. And on the end of the last phalange, he has his toenail, which, of course, he calls his hoof, you see. And that's the way he's made up. You have to realize this is all hand, and it's the same in the back. In the back, this horse has a pelvis. As I say, we'll see it's goody like ours as time goes on. He has an enormous femur, they call that. The layman calls that the thigh bone, you know, the femur. Then he has a tibia, but just part of a fibula. Tibia and fibula. On these animals, if there's no turning, the secondary bone tends to die away, and you'd find on the horse here just a sort of a splinter bone, like that. Now, all this is foot from here down. You see, like that. If it were a bear, he'd have a foot a lot like ours, you see, like that in the skeletal form. And his middle toe would be the longest, you see. And he'd look very much like us. In fact, if we throw a few of our muscles on the bear, you see how much he is like us? But the horse's whole foot is rotated down this way, rotated down that way. And so we get, of course, the tarsal bones you can see in the foot there. And then one metatarsal, and then one toe, like the front. One toe. With a fingernail, which is a heel, you see, and you have a horse's skeleton. Now, all you have to know is just a little anatomy, either human or animal. You know, the funny thing is, if you know your human anatomy, you can draw animals in a very short time. I know I did that. I learned quite a lot of anatomy in this very league. And then I went up to the farm for the summer. And in no time at all I could draw all the animals in the farm because I realized they were just like men, but walking around on four legs, you see. You see, you'd look at a rabbit and you'd think of him as a man, and then you'd think of him as a rabbit, and he comes out rabbit. Some of you who know a little anatomy, you know that we have a cervical ligament that comes from the back of our head here to the seventh cervical bump there. It's to hold our head up. The horse needs a strong one. He's got such a heavy head. So his outline here is a ligament that runs to his fourth dorsal spine. His outline in front is very much something like our sternomastoid. This thing here, which of course goes to the pit of his neck, which is down here. And then if you went into it, you'd find that all these muscles are analogous. Little biceps for you there, and all these muscles we use on the human are in here. In here we have the triceps. Hoofed animals have an extension on their shoulder blade, so it becomes about as long as the head. Cartilaginous extension. From that, some of you know about these muscles. The serratus muscles come. And what is so peculiar, they're entirely human. The last one goes to the ninth rib, as all artists know, and so on. Latissimus dorsi, some of you know. Rectus abdominis. Great quadriceps of the leg. We go into all these things in great detail. As I said, maybe this is his calf, or calf, as they say in New York. The hamstring group comes down and goes into the fascia of the calf, you know. That beautiful rear end on the horse is not ours. It's this part of our leg back here. The backbone continues through the pelvis, as it does with ours, into a sacrum, and that turns into a tail, which we seem to have lost, except for just a little one we have here. You know, that's the human tail. Little thing here. That one's right. The one in my room is wrong. The one in my room has 4 vertebrae. This one has 3, which is right. But very few of you will have tails, you'll find, if you feel back there. And that doesn't mean that quite a lot of you weren't born with tails, because these vestigial things turn up again and again in human beings. But the wise old doctor who attended your birth probably didn't want you to know it, and he bit it off before he released you, you see.